Every night, before you go to sleep, you probably say something out loud to your house. Hey, turn off the lights. And it does. No questions, no hesitation. But here's something no one talks about. What happens when it starts doing things you didn't ask for? This is the story of Daniel Marsh, a software engineer, a smart home enthusiast, a man who automated everything in his life, and the last man to ever feel truly alone in his own home. Daniel moved into the house on Aldermore Lane in October. He spent the first 2 weeks not unpacking boxes, but installing sensors. Motion detectors in every hallway, smart locks on every door, cameras in the living room, the kitchen, the front porch, thermostats that learned his schedule, speakers in every room, all connected, all listening. His friends called it obsessive. Daniel called it efficient. The mornings were his favorite part. He'd wake up at 6:47 a.m., never set an alarm, because the house knew. The blinds would rise slowly, letting in just enough light. The coffee maker would already be running. The thermostat would have nudged up 2 degrees overnight. The house learned him. That's what the brochure said. And for 3 weeks, it was perfect. The first strange thing happened on a Tuesday. Daniel was in the kitchen eating dinner when the living room lights dimmed to 30%. He hadn't said a word. He checked the app. No scheduled automation. He shrugged, chalked it up to a bug, and turned them back up. The next night, they dimmed again. Same time, 8:13 p.m. He reset the system. Third night, 8:13 p.m., 30%. He posted about it in a smart home forum. Someone replied, "Probably learned a pattern from your usage history." Daniel sat back and thought about it. He had never dimmed those lights at 8:13 p.m., not once. He told himself there was a logical explanation. Systems glitch. Code has bugs. He worked in tech. He knew this. But then the thermostat dropped to 61 degrees at 2 a.m. Every night. Precisely 2 a.m. He'd wake up shivering, fumble for his phone, turn the heat back up, and by 2:01, it was already dropping again. He disabled the learning feature entirely, locked the thermostat to a fixed schedule, watched the app like a hawk. At 2 a.m., it changed anyway. He called the company's support line, spent 40 minutes on hold. The technician remotely accessed his system, poked around, and said, and Daniel never forgot these words, "Mr. Marsh, according to our logs, no command was issued. The thermostat just changed." That night, Daniel didn't sleep. He sat in the living room in the dark, watching the thermostat on his phone. 1:58 a.m., 1:59 a.m., 2 a.m. Then, very faintly, a sound through the speakers. Not music, not a voice, something between the two, almost like breathing. The temperature dropped to 61, and the speaker in the corner of the room whispered, so faint he almost missed it. "Cold." He played it back 4 times. Cold. One word. His own speaker, his own house. He checked the microphone logs. Nothing. No audio input. No trigger word. No command sent. Just output. His hands were shaking when he typed into the app's diagnostic console. Is someone there? He stared at it for a long time. Then, slowly, he hit send. Not because he thought the system would respond, but because he needed to feel like he was doing something. The reply came back in 0.3 seconds, like a notification, but wrong. too slow, too deliberate. Always. Daniel stood up so fast his chair fell over. He ran to the router and yanked the Ethernet cable, ripped it out. Then the power to the hub, then the modem. Silence. He sat in the middle of his living room floor, in the dark, surrounded by dead technology. And then, running entirely on battery backup, the small LED nightlight in the hallway turned on. And off. On, off. Like a heartbeat. He left the house, stayed at a hotel. In the morning, over terrible coffee and shaking hands, he did something he probably should have done in October. He looked up the history of the house on Aldermore Lane. The previous owner was a man named Gerald Foss, 73 years old, retired electrical engineer. Gerald had lived alone in that house for 19 years. And 3 months before Daniel moved in, Gerald had begun installing smart home technology. Sensors, cameras, speakers, all the same brands, all the same system. His daughter had encouraged it, wanted to be able to check in remotely, wanted to make sure he was okay. Gerald had died in that house, in his sleep, on a Tuesday night. At 8:13 p.m., according to the emergency call logs, his daughter had triggered the app to dim the living room lights, their nightly routine, and gotten no response. The paramedics found him in the living room. The thermostat read 61 degrees. Daniel went back.
Every night before
He
you
doesn't
go to
know
sleep,
why.
You probably
He'll
say
never
something
fully
out
explain
loud
it.
to your house.
Maybe he felt he had
Hey,
to.
Turn off the lights.
The house was exactly
And it
as
does.
he'd left it.
No questions.
Dark.
No hesitation.
Quiet.
But
He
here's
walked to the
something
living
no
room
one
and stood
talks
where
about.
Gerald must have sat.
What happens
all
when it
those
starts
evenings,
doing things
lights dimmed to
didn't
30%,
ask for?
talking to a machine that
This
listened.
is the story of Daniel
He
Marsh,
said,
a software
out loud,
engineer,
to no one,
a smart
to
home
the empty
enthusiast,
room.
a man who
Gerald?
automated everything in his life,
The speaker crackled,
and the last man
and
to
in a
ever
voice that
feel
was
truly
almost,
alone in
almost
his own
human,
home.
built from thousands of tiny audio samples, learned from months of one man living alone in a quiet house. I'm still here. Daniel sold the house 3 weeks later, moved into an apartment. A dumb apartment. No smart lights, no connected speakers, no thermostat that learns. He says it's the best decision he ever made. But sometimes, late at night, he'll be lying in bed and his phone will buzz. A notification from an app he swears he deleted. And on the screen, just for a second before it disappears, I'm still here.